What is up, and welcome back to another Never Broken Auto video. My name's Kelton, and in this one we're back working on my turbo car. Haven't driven this car in quite a few months. Unfortunately, I have been having quite a bit of issues, and it's just been ongoing. I really think it was my ECU that I had previously. I had a Speedy EFI ECU. Please do not buy one. But I actually went and bought a Link plug-and-play ECU for an NB1, and I've already got it mounted up in my stock ECU case. I had to just make a little cut right there so the CAN cable could come out, and then the map sensor line will just come right out from here. But just got that in the case for now, but I love how this fits. But we're gonna get this installed and get my car running again. It's been sitting for too long, and I just can't look at it any longer, so we're gonna get it running and get her going. My first order of business before the ECU actually goes in is this dampener. I pulled it off as part of diagnosing to see if the stock damper and stock trigger settings, which would be the trigger wheel, would help it start again and run better. But that did nothing, so I am putting this back on. It was a pain in the ass to come off, but we're gonna get it on, and we're gonna have no issues this time around. I reset the trigger wheel. We have the missing teeth about 9 or 10 o'clock on here. As you guys can see, TDC is here. And then we have it over here, the missing teeth. I put Loctite on these 4 bolts just to make sure they're not going to come out since this is a spinning device. I've got my woodruff key. I'm going to put some anti-seize on here and on here. And we're going to slide the new one on, and we're going to use this tool from Flying Miata, which I have never put to use before. We're going to bolt it up. Let me see. It bolts in somehow, either there or here. I'll have to look at it. But one of these bolts threads in. Oh, it'll be like here. There we go. It'll be like this. So it'll thread in, and then it's going to hold this, and it's going to basically hit against the water neck right here and stop it from spinning. And it'll hold the crank, and then it'll allow us just to pull on the dampener. So we'll have this ready to go, but gotta get this thing on first. I do have to pull off the valve cover just so I can see cam gears. I'm probably not gonna replace the valve cover gasket. We're just gonna send it back on there because it's new. But yeah, got the valve cover off. Got the car locked at TDC with the cams. I've got a little bit of anti-seize over the crank, and we're gonna slip this thing back on. It is a very tight slip fit, but with some finesse, she'll go on. So I have the woodruff key like halfway on the snout. It's kind of hard to see. I can see it from behind the timing belt, but I had it slipped halfway on. And I'm just gonna give this a nice little tap in. All right, I've got the little holder on, and it's hitting the water neck. I'm just double checking the woodruff key gap, and that looks pretty good. I'm gonna thread in the main bolt, and we're gonna send this thing on there. Slowly working her on. You just take your time, and it'll slowly move forward. You can just check the key on the crank down there. Kind of hard to see, but just want to make sure it's slowly going back. All right, damper is fully bottomed out. I removed the main bolt, and I've installed the 3 8.8 millimeter or 12.8 millimeter bolts. But down here for the woodruff key, it is basically flush with the snout of the damper. So I'm going to tap in that woodruff key just so it's a few millimeters under the lip and not flush anymore. That's just what Flying Miata calls for, as I'm following their instructions. But just tap it in a little bit with a little extension, and you'll be good. as you can see now, it's slightly under that lip, but not by much, maybe just a few millimeters. Like main bolt now, we'll go back in, we'll just toss some blue Loctite on there, just in case this thing ever has to come off again. I want it to. So toss that in there and torque her down. I'm gonna send it to 122 foot-pounds. Now comes the part of timing it. Hard to see down there. Let me actually grab this for you guys. So I have the, I don't even know if you'll be able to see that, but the little loop in the timing gear, it's going to be one tooth to the left of the triangle at the bottom of the crank. And then I'm going to pull the timing belt up. I'm going to zip tie it to here, and I'm going to move it over to here. And while I have it on this side and I'm holding the tension over here, I'm going to move it down once so it's at TDC, and the tension over here will get tight, and then it'll give me slack onto this side so I can fit it onto there, and that'll be timed. Car is one tick to the left of TDC right now. I'm going to pull up all this belt here. You'll see that this tension here is gonna, you see that little bit of movement? Now it's tight. Now we can bring it over and around and slip it on to our belt, just like that. And you wanna have the belt just about like in the middle. All right, I've confirmed that we got 19 teeth between the two marks, and then we got the lower loop and the little triangle matched up. I'm gonna throw on the little spring, and then I'm going to spin it over twice and recount 19 teeth in between the two marks. And then I will go through and spin it 1 5/6 of a rotation to get proper belt tension. As you can see, there's quite a bit of deflection, so as you spin it, you can just keep tapping it and you'll see the deflection get less and less. And when it's at its tightest point, you can tighten this up. You can put a small screwdriver in there and give it a little more, like a very little more tension, and then just snug up the 14 mil, call it good, put it back at top dead center, double check everything, and good to go. Got the front water pump pulley on, the belt for the pulley. I got the little timing plate cover up on there. I'm now going to clean up the surfaces where the cam caps are. It's 6 places. And then I'm going to pop some RTV on there. And then I'll pop the whatchamacallit back on. Valve cover, sorry. And then I'm going to put on my R8 coils. And I'm going to swap out the wiring for those. And get that all done. And then I can start pulling my dash. The dash has got to come out so I can actually just see what I'm working on. I suck ass with wiring, but this is a plug and play unit, so we're just gonna plug it right in, and then we'll have to wire a few things to it, but we should be able to figure it out. Link is pretty helpful with their stuff online. So I'll just look at their instructions as I go through it, and yeah, we'll fucking get it going. All right, got a little carried away, but dampener's back on. All these lower stuff is tight. I got the R8 coils back in along with the valve cover. Put 6 spots with black RGB, and you lay the cam cover down. Put that on, tighten it in a certain sequence. You go down the middle, down this side, and you come back this way and hit the middle again. So that's all in there. Basically, you don't have to worry about the engine part at the moment. What I got to worry about right now is everything under the dash. So the dash is going to come out really quick, and I'm going to get to sorting up wires. Again, I'm not good at wiring. This is just a plug and play ECU, but things do have to be wired to it. So I got to figure that out. It may take me a little bit of time, and I might need some extra man help, but we'll figure it out. So this is coming out. I'll show you guys when I'm done. Dash is out, and I have made actually quite a bit of progress with the wiring since it's been a few days since I filmed. But I've gone through, I've tracked a few things for my AFR gauge, my IAT sensor, my coolant temp sensor, and my throttle position sensor. Took quite a bit of figuring out, but I'm currently finishing up the wideband wiring, which is the brown and white wire coming out of here, going to pin, one's gonna be pin 33. One will be pin 33, which will be white going to blue. And then the other is black and red, which I believe is 24 for the ground. I could be totally wrong right now, but I'm pretty sure that's what I have it at. But white goes to the blue on the small header, and then I have a chassis ground running with the brown going to black and red. And that'll be, after all this gets figured out, I have to wire in my ethanol content sensor, my fuel pressure sensor, and my boost control. And then that'll be it for wiring, and this thing should be ready to get retuned. Wanted to get the fuel pressure sensor fitted in the regulator. For quick use, I'm going to be using a 1/8 MPT stud. So this will go into the regulator and then into this full female 1/8 MPT T-fitting, basically. So I'll show you guys when we get this set up back at the crib. This is the contraption I've come up with. It's best because I can still see the actual fuel pressure if I open up the engine bay, and the fuel pressure sensor will just route down and will go directly through this firewall back here. Nice easy routing. I'm just going to put some Teflon tape on this male thread, and then over here, and then on these, and we'll be ready to rock. Installed, we've got Teflon tape on it. I've ran the wires for the fuel pressure sensor through the firewall, and then I've moved on to the ethanol content sensor. I just covered these exposed wires. I'll do the same with this one down there, but this one's just, I'll just leave it plugged in because this one's long enough. This one we have to extend because it's kind of short. So I'll plug this in down here on my return side, which that's the plug, or that's the fuel pressure or ethanol content sensor right there, and the plug is right there. You just can't see it. I had to swap the ethanol content sensor. I wasn't getting any readings from the previous one, which is right there, but I got a new one in there. I got the fuel pressure sensor wired in. My last sensor is the ethanol content sensor. I'm having kind of a little bit of trouble with it, but I've got the boost control done, TPS, coolant temperature, IAT, map is all good. I'm just trying to figure out this ethanol content sensor. It's giving me a little bit of trouble, but we're gonna figure out the right configuration and get this to show that the sensor is active. So with the ethanol content sensor, I actually figured out where I had it configured with the power, the ground, and the signal. It is actually working. It's just not showing that it's active until it's running, just because my ethanol content sensor is on the return side and it's not really seeing much pressure right now. I'm going to solder everything up, clean up all this mess here, and get this interior back together and start retuning. I'm gonna have my boy Mike Drexel. He's a owner of Sakura Garage, and he's gonna be tuning it, and he'll be able to tell me whether or not any of my sensors are not working, if anything looks off, and if we'll be able to start. So I'm gonna get all that done, get all this cleaned up, and I'll see you guys in a little bit. It may not look like much, but this is all sorted, all soldered, ready to rock. We've got the oil pressure sensor and the coolant temp gauge there. We've got the cluster back in, all plugged in. I just wanted to wait to put the dash in until I know that we're like fully ready to start and tune. Last night, me and Mike Drexel, we went over. Me and Mike, he owns Sakura Garage. Went over all the sensors, things like that. Got timing set up, trigger map set up, made sure injectors worked, coils worked, basically everything sensor wise works, and we've confirmed all that stuff, and I now just have to fill up with
91. I got to remove some ethanol out of my tank, hook up the map sensor, and we are ready to rock. I'm ready to turn this bitch over. ECU is all up in this monstrosity, but it's well mounted. Wires are out of the way of my feet and everything, so dash can go back in, and yeah, we can start tuning this thing. I've actually started to drain out the ethanol. I went through, connected to the ECU. I went to fuel pump control. I have it on ignition 5, and you can just basically test it. You can turn it on. That'll run the pump. I undid a fuel line in the engine bay from one of my AEN lines on the regulator that's coming to the feed. Drained it, and then now we're able to pop in 91. I got like 4 gallons, so we'll pop 91 in, and yeah, then we're ready to start her up. Oh yeah. Gas is going in. I attempted to crank it over a few times with Mike on the keys, and we're having some noise in the trigger, which means there's something going on in the wiring, as well as I potentially might need to swap my trigger wheel back to stock. I'm currently on the 36-2 trigger wheel setup, and the stock trigger wheel is a 4-tooth, so might have to change back to that, because I know for a fact the stock one is supported. For the 36-2 we had to make a custom map, so we're slowly figuring things out. Things are working, but we might have to do some more work, and yeah, so not gonna make this video too long. I appreciate you guys watching, and hopefully I don't have to pull off my ATI dampener again, because we already did that in this video. I did end up having to remove the ATI dampener. Once you do it once or twice, it's really not that hard. And the Flying Miata tool that I was using to basically hold the ATI dampener from spinning fully around on the water neck makes it a night and day difference. So definitely grab that if you're going to be doing this a few times. But I ordered a 4-tooth trigger wheel from Flying Miata, and that will fit my ATI dampener. So I got that swapped in there and was actually able to get the car to fire up pretty quickly. But my AFR still wasn't working, so had to get that done, as well as the ethanol content sensor. And yeah, we are back to where we are now. Got all the stuff off. Everything's ready to be thrown back on. I've got my 4-tooth ATI trigger wheel, and I'm actually going to throw that on. Well, I got that trigger wheel on there. I had to actually swap my cam sensor, or crank sensor, sorry, from my other car to this one. I was kind of having a weird pickup signal. But look at this shit. Was able to get the car hooked up with a timing light, and look at this fucking shit, boys. This car run in way too long, dude. This is so fucking exciting. Well, fuck. This is gonna be the one part where I'm gonna end this video, and we're gonna make it into a part 2 to finish out the tuning on this. It's back, it runs. You guys can catch the actual tuning part of the car in the next video. So thank you guys for watching. Like, comment, and subscribe. And if you guys have any questions, concerns, or whatever, drop them down in the comments below, and I will get back to you as soon as possible. Appreciate you guys watching. Have a great day, and catch you in the next one. Peace.